Mindcare Gladstone and of course our good friends at Zonta are back on again as beneficiaries. We've raised almost $400,000 over the years for the local charities in the community, and we're going to do our absolute best to raise as much as we can again this year. And thanks to our sponsors and of course those who turn up and buy the tickets, the money will be distributed right across the Gladstone region. Well, the Bull this year, the theme is Starry Night, and it's on the 29th of May, and tickets are on sale on the 1st of March, so we're encouraging everyone to jump on Council's website or contact the team at the GECC. It's 49722822 and make sure you don't miss out. It's always a fantastic night, obviously. 450 tickets on sale, they will sell out, and we've got the fantastic Hamilton Band coming back from Brisbane. They were here for our New Year's Eve event a couple of years ago, so people will remember them from that. It's going to be fantastic. Don't miss out on getting your tickets for this event.
Celebrate Easter in Gladstone, the gateway to the southern Great Barrier Reef. The marina comes alive with harbourside celebrations all Easter long weekend. Enjoy the Harbour Festival's carnival rides and family-friendly entertainment, and visit new attraction Sculptures by Gladstone Harbour. Over 18s can celebrate the end of the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race at the village's line crossing party, or enjoy fresh produce at the Yachtsman's Long Lunch or the Seafood Festival. Accommodation packages available. Easter in Gladstone. Why would you be anywhere else?
Good morning and welcome to the general meeting, Tuesday the 2nd of March 2021. We'll move into the agenda and first call for apologies, noting that Mayor Matt Burnett is going to be a little bit late this morning. He's at a doctor's appointment with family, so he'll be here shortly. There being no other apologies, we'll move on to item number G/0, sorry, I think it is on my... messages of condolence. Councillor Branthwaite.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Goodluck. I'd just like to pass on our condolences to the Pike family. Darryl Pike passed away on Saturday. He's a well-known member of our community, both in the real estate and through the fishing community, and also through various community groups in Bourne Island, Tannum Sands and the Gladstone region. We'd like to send out our condolences to his wife Kathy and also his daughter Lisa and the family. The funeral will be on Friday at the Boyne Memorial Gardens on Friday morning. So it's a very sad day for the community. It's lost a real champion of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Branthwaite. No other messages of condolence? No, we'll move on to... prior notification of conflicts of interest. Do we have any conflicts of interest, councillors? None? Okay, item number G/1, the mayoral statement of current issues, will leave for Mayor Matt. Hopefully he'll be joining us shortly. So we'll move on to item G/2, confirmation of minutes. Can I get someone to move the minutes? Councillor Trevor? Moved, seconded, Councillor Chris Cameron. All those in favour? That's carried. Item number G/3, officers' reports. G/3.1, asset disposal policy. I'll hand that over to General Manager for Finance, Governance and Risk, Mark Holmes.
Morning, councillors. This policy here today is a review of our asset disposal policy. It was gone through the scheduled review process, and through that review process has probably identified the need that this policy can be best replaced through a corporate standard. Essentially, there's a number of administrative delegations that remain in place with respect to the sale of operational plant and equipment, and they would remain unchanged with respect to this, and that the sale of any other assets, such as land and that, would still need to come back to council for resolution to actually proceed down that path. So this policy essentially just puts the framework in place for how administratively we'll deal with asset disposal, and has largely been a requirement of our audit, Queensland Audit Office, and essentially we've had that in place, and we think we can best outwork that through a corporate standard at this point. So for your consideration.
Do we have any questions to the officers, councillors? Councillor Trevor? Oh.
I'm happy to move.
Happy to move. Move, Councillor Hanson. Can I just get a seconder for the motion? If we second and Councillor Trevor. Councillor Muscat, you had a question?
Yeah, it's just a quick question. So now that it's a corporate standard, how often would it be reviewed, or what's the...
Yeah, so essentially 3 years.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Just checking.
Yep.
But it won't not need to come to the table
No.
here.
So corporate standards can be signed off through the CEO.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Mark. Just a query. I know we've had a number of these in the past that have come through that are policies that we're sort of moving into that corporate standard space. Why is it that this exists at the moment as a policy rather than a corporate standard?
It was a recommendation of the Audit Office at the time that this be essentially a policy, but certainly our consultation with our current auditors, our current audit committee, as well as other looking at a review at other councils, and also our internal professionals, to understand that we can best outwork this as a corporate standard. It is essentially an accounting policy and gives guidance in that space.
Thank you. That's fair enough. No other questions for the officer, councillors? I think we had a mover in Councillor Hansard, seconded Councillor Trevor. All those in favour? That's carried. Item number G/3.2, the street sweeping services, and this one is for General Manager of Operations, John Tumbers. Hand it over to you, John.
Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. Good morning, councillors. This item seeks resolution to enter into a preferred supplier agreement with Specialised Pavement Services for the provision of street sweeping in the southern area of the Gladstone local government area. Street sweeping in those areas is done on a 4-weekly cycle and then gets increased to manage events and high level of tourism. The submission from a Specialised Pavement Service scored highest overall, and the annual expenditure for this service is around $68,000. I have Christy Wachner online if we have any questions regarding the process.
Any questions to the officers, councillors? Councillor O'Grady, you're happy to move? Can I get a seconder for that one? Councillor Muscat? Oh, Councillor, second and Councillor Muscat. We'll get you on the next one, Councillor Churchill. Councillor Branthwaite, sorry, did you have a question, sorry?
Yeah, just thanks, Councillor Khan. Just the southern areas, what do you just mean by the southern region? Is that the likes of Agnes and Marianvale, or?
Yes, that's correct. Miriam Vale, Rosedale, Turkey Beach, those areas.
All right, that's all. Thank you.
Other questions, councillors? No, we've got a mover in Councillor O'Grady, seconding Councillor Muscat. All those in favour? That's carried. Item number G/3.3, laboratory services and consumables, sole suppliers, and that one's yours as well, John.
Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. This item seeks resolution to allow exception to the requirement of written quotes and tenders in relation to laboratory services. The provision of laboratory services is typically those services required for drinking water quality testing, and there are 3 companies listed here that provide a combination of services to meet council's needs. They're IDEX laboratory services that supply the consumables required for microbiological testing, typically for things such as E. coli. ALS, or Australian Laboratory Services, for chemical analysis, where samples are managed from a depot in Gladstone sent away to laboratories for tests, and they're typically time sensitive for those tests to occur. And EcoScope, which has a laboratory in Rockhampton where we send tests for confirmation of microbiological testing such as E. coli. Our combined annual spend is around the $56,000. Open for questions.
Councillor Trevor.
Thanks, John. Do we have systems in place to test for COVID?
As in the wastewater testing we're referring to?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, we aren't testing for COVID.
If there's an outbreak close to the Gladstone community, is it the intention of the council to test for COVID?
Typically, if there was an outbreak of such, we would take direction from Queensland Health, who would tell us what we test for and the regime by which we would test.
And do these tenderers in item G 3.3 have the ability to test for COVID?
If required to test for COVID by Queensland Health, they manage the where we send the samples to and how we collect, and they even supply the consumables that go with it.
And is the expense in relation to that testing the responsibility of this council or the responsibility of Queensland Health?
My understanding is it's the responsibility of Queensland Health, but I would need to check that detail.
Thanks, John.
Any other questions to John? No? Do I have a mover for the motion? Moved Councillor Branthwaite, seconded Councillor Muscat. All those in favour? That's carried. Item number G/4 is we do have a deputation from the Stronger Places, Stronger People organisation, but I believe that will happen at around about 10 o'clock. So we'll move on to item number G/5, councillors' reports. Are there any councillors' reports? We have none. Item number G/6, I don't believe we have any urgent business. No notices of motion. And we don't have any confidential items today. So for anyone who's watching, we do have an unusually short meeting today, but we do have our deputation at 10 a.m, I believe. So we'll take a short intermission, and hopefully Mayor Matt will be joining us by then, and he'll be able to give his mayoral statement on current issues as well. So we'll break now, and we'll see you back here at 10 a.m. with those last items.
Celebrate Easter in Gladstone, the gateway to the southern Great Barrier Reef. The marina comes alive with harbourside celebrations all Easter long weekend. Enjoy the Harbour Festival's carnival rides and family-friendly entertainment, and visit new attraction Sculptures by Gladstone Harbour. Over 18s can celebrate the end of the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race at the village's line crossing party, or enjoy fresh produce at the Yachtsman's long lunch or the seafood festival. Accommodation packages available. Easter in Gladstone. Why would you be anywhere else?
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Well, today we announced the beneficiaries for the 2021 Santos GLNG Mayor's Charity Ball, and I'm very pleased to announce that the charities this year are Nullandu Health Services, Rosebery Community Services, Mindcare Gladstone, and of course our good friends at Zonta are back on again as beneficiaries. We've raised almost $400,000 over the years for the local charities in the community, and we're going to do our absolute best to raise as much as we can again this year. And thanks to our sponsors and of course those who turn up and buy the tickets, the money will be distributed right across the Gladstone region. Well, the ball this year, the theme is Starry Night, and it's on the 29th of May, and tickets are on sale on the 1st of March, so we're encouraging everyone to jump on Council's website or contact the team at the GECC. It's 4972 822 and make sure you don't miss out. It's always a fantastic night, obviously. 450 tickets on sale, they will sell out, and we've got the fantastic Hamilton Band coming back from Brisbane. They were here for our New Year's Eve event a couple of years ago, so people will remember them from that. It's going to be fantastic. Don't miss out on getting your tickets for this event.
Celebrate Easter in Gladstone, the gateway to the southern Great Barrier Reef. The marina comes alive with harbourside celebrations all Easter long weekend. Enjoy the Harbour Festival's carnival rides and family-friendly entertainment, and visit new attraction Sculptures by Gladstone Harbour. Over 18s can celebrate the end of the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race at the village's line crossing party, or enjoy fresh produce at the Yachtsman's long lunch or the seafood festival. Accommodation packages available. Easter in Gladstone. Why would you be anywhere else?
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Well, today we announced the beneficiaries for the 2021 Santos GLNG Mayor's Charity Ball, and I'm very pleased to announce that the charities this year are Nullandu Health Services, Rosebery Community Services, Mindcare Gladstone, and of course our good friends at Zonta are back on again as beneficiaries. We've raised almost $400,000 over the years for the local charities in the community, and we're going to do our absolute best to raise as much as we can again this year. And thanks to our sponsors and of course those who turn up and buy the tickets, the money will be distributed right across the Gladstone region. Well, the ball this year, the theme is Starry Night, and it's on the 29th of May, and tickets are on sale on the 1st of March, so we're encouraging everyone to jump on Council's website or contact the team at the GECC. It's 49722822 822, and make sure you don't miss out. It's always a fantastic night, obviously. 450 tickets on sale, they will sell out, and we've got the fantastic Hamilton Band coming back from Brisbane. They were here for our New Year's Eve event a couple of years ago, so people will remember them from that. It's going to be fantastic. Don't miss out on getting your tickets for this event.
Celebrate Easter in Gladstone, the gateway to the southern Great Barrier Reef. The marina comes alive with harbourside celebrations all Easter long weekend. Enjoy the Harbour Festival's carnival rides and family-friendly entertainment, and visit new attraction Sculptures by Gladstone Harbour. Over 18s can celebrate the end of the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race at the village's line crossing party, or enjoy fresh produce at the Yachtsman's long lunch or the seafood festival. Accommodation packages available. Easter in Gladstone. Why would you be anywhere else?
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Well, today we announced the beneficiaries for the 2021 Santos GLNG Mayor's Charity Ball, and I'm very pleased to announce that the charities this year are Nullandu Health Services, Rosebery Community Services, Mindcare Gladstone, and of course our good friends at Zonta are back on again as beneficiaries. We've raised almost $400,000 over the years for the local charities in the community, and we're going to do our absolute best to raise as much as we can again this year. And thanks to our sponsors and of course those who turn up and buy the tickets, the money will be distributed right across the Gladstone region. Well, the ball this year, the theme is Starry Night, and it's on the 29th of May, and tickets are on sale on the 1st of March, so we're encouraging everyone to jump on Council's website or contact the team at the GECC. It's 4972 822 and make sure you don't miss out. It's always a fantastic night, obviously. 450 tickets on sale, they will sell out, and we've got the fantastic Hamilton Band coming back from Brisbane. They were here for our New Year's Eve event a couple of years ago, so people will remember them from that. It's going to be fantastic. Don't miss out on getting your tickets for this event.
Celebrate Easter in Gladstone, the gateway to the southern Great Barrier Reef. The marina comes alive with harbourside celebrations all Easter long weekend. Enjoy the Harbour Festival's carnival rides and family-friendly entertainment, and visit new attraction Sculptures by Gladstone Harbour. Over 18s can celebrate the end of the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race at the village's line crossing party, or enjoy fresh produce at the Yachtsman's long lunch or the Seafood Festival. Accommodation packages available. Easter in Gladstone. Why would you be anywhere else?
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
thank you, councillors, and welcome back to those watching on live stream. Firstly, can I thank Councillor Goodluck for chairing the first part of the meeting while I attended a medical appointment with my son. So far, so good. Well, thing should be fine, hopefully, there. Let's move into the next item on the agenda, which is actually one of the first items, is the Mayor's statement on current issues. And the first thing I want to talk about, of course, is the Agnes Blues Roots and Rock Festival on the February 19th to 21st. Can I thank Councillor O'Grady for representing me at that meeting, at that event, and all the councillors that attended. I know Councillor Churchill, who's online on screen up there, he's dialing in on Teams. Thank you, Councillor Churchill, Councillor Muscat, and I believe Councillor Hanson were there, and maybe a couple others as well. So thank you, councillors, for attending that one for me. Then, of course, we had Legally Blonde. The first weekend was a huge success. So thank you, Councillor Churchill, again for launching that event at the Gladstone Entertainment Convention Centre. The final shows for Legally Blonde, the Gladstone Region Community Musical, is next weekend, or this weekend coming, and it is probably... Well, it's been sold out so far, so I'm not sure if there's any tickets left. So if you haven't got tickets, you might want to check with the GECC and see if there are any available. So congratulations to the cast and crew and everybody involved in that fantastic combined community musical. On the same weekend just gone, of course, we hosted the Central Queensland Capras against the Sunshine Coast Falcons, and what a good start for the season. Even though it was pre-season, the Capras got a win. So we're very happy with that and very happy to host that at Marley Brown Oval. 32-10, maybe a sign of things to come. We might see the Capras in the finals and maybe claiming a grand final victory. One can only hope. Just recently, I attended the Parliament House in Brisbane for a gig, which is which they hosted Australia's first hydrogen barbecue. So Minister Mick de Brenny and Assistant Minister Lance McCullum hosted a barbecue there, cooking sausages on the Australia's first hydrogen barbecue. It was fantastic to be there at Parliament House to see that all set up. This weekend, I think it is, yes, the Sunday, the first weekend in March. That's right, is Clean Up Australia Day, and I've got some information on Clean Up Australia Day if you could just bear with me. Right across the region, Sunday the 5th of March is the official Clean Up Australia Day event, and that's for schools, and the Clean Up Australia Day event for the region is the 7th of March. So we're encouraging everybody to get involved right across the region and register for an event. I know that Council has got skip bins at Lions Park in Gladstone, Wyndham Park in Boyne, Miriam Vale State School Car Park, and at Bunting Park in Calliope. So I'm sure there's other events happening across the region, so make sure you get involved and check out the website cleanupaustralia.org.au for more details about what's going on with Clean Up Australia Day. And also, of course, I think there's a business cleanup on Tuesday the 2nd, so that's today. So no doubt the business community are getting involved in cleaning up there as well. Parks Week is coming up. We've got events right across the Gladstone region again. Parks Week is from the 6th of March to the 14th of March, and there's activities right across the region all the week. We have sculptures by Tondoon happening on the 8th of March. You can be guided through the gardens as you learn about the history and marvels behind the sculptures at Tondoon Botanic Gardens. There's a champion tree tour on the 9th. There's the curators tour is happening on the 10th of March. You can go with Brent Braddock and he'll teach you all about the history of the Tondoon Gardens. There's a bonsai display and demonstration happening on the 14th of March. Gladstone Region Libraries have a First Five Forever. The Calliope Library and Community Garden are having a working bee that's happening on the 12th. So if you're in the Calliope community, make sure you get involved in that. And I know that the Gladstone Region Art Gallery Museum is having a Kids on Tour now. It's time in the park in February as well. There's so much happening. Here's one for councillors. You might want to get involved in the boot camp at Apex Park. For those who don't know, Apex Park is opposite Lions Park in Gladstone. And I know that there's also the Discovery Coast markets are happening, of course, on the 14th of March as well. So there's something happening right across the region. Get involved in Parks Week. Check out Gladstone Regional Council website for more information. There's just a jam-packed action and lots of activities happening right across the region. Also coming up, councillors, very important for those involved in sporting clubs. On Thursday the 4th of March, that's this Thursday, we have a free workshop for incorporated associations. It'll teach you about the roles of being involved in a club committee and the legal responsibilities with all these new laws and legislation about. It's very important that those on committees understand their legal obligations and the roles of office holders, financial administration obligations, membership, record keeping, all those sorts of things. It's happening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Thursday, the 4th of March at the Community Engagement Centre. The Community Engagement Centre is the old library opposite the Art Gallery in Gundoon Street, so those who aren't sure where that is. So that's most of the stuff I wanted to talk about. Of course, the last thing I really want to mention is to the team and all the sponsors for the Santos GLNG Mayor's Charity Ball. Tickets went on sale yesterday and they sold out yesterday. So that is fantastic to see that all our 4 beneficiaries, which are Rosebery Community Services, Rosebery Queensland now, we have Nullandu Health Services, Zonta and Mindcare Gladstone will all benefit from the funds raised at the Santos GLNG Mayor's Charity Ball. Lots of sponsors involved. I know that we've raised about $58,000 already and the ball hasn't even happened yet, so it's going to be a huge success. We are looking at potentially opening up 4 more tables. I know the team here at the GECC are trying to fit some more tables in. There is a waiting list for those on the waiting list. We might be able to fit some more tables in, but you might be in the foyer. So we'll see how we go. But it is going to be a huge night. That's on the 29th of May. And I think that's about all I wanted to mention this morning. Councillors, we'll now move into the next item on the agenda, which is our deputation, and to Lorna, and we have a deputation for Stronger Places, Stronger People, Lorna McGuinness and Debbie King. So I might hand over to you, Lorna or Debbie, and we'll get our deputation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks so much for giving us your time this morning. Just like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we meet, the Gureng, Baili and Tarablang Bunda people, and to pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging leaders. Thanks again for providing us the opportunity to come and talk to you this evening. While we've been providing email updates, it is great to be here in person and to introduce you in person to Stronger Places, Stronger People. My name's Lorna McGuinness and I've been lucky enough to work with many of you, I think, over the last 15 years that I've been in Gladstone and 20 years in Central Queensland. My background is in community development in local government and in social impact management in industry when we saw the LNG industry developing in Gladstone. I would like to introduce you to Debbie King, who is here with me today. Debbie is a born and bred Gladstone local, and Debbie has supported and enabled our community through roles in the human services sector and also in sporting and other volunteer roles in her community. Deb and I are both very passionate locals, passionate about our region, passionate about our community, and we've chosen to raise our children here. So we have a very strong heart connection to the Stronger Places, Stronger People initiative that we're going to tell you about today, and a strong commitment to the work going forward. So Stronger Places, Stronger People, it's an Australian government initiative and it's a long-term social change initiative. The main aim is to disrupt the cycle of disadvantage, which is no easy task, as we know. But the Australian government has partnered with state and territory governments to support 10 demonstration communities around Australia with the aim of disrupting disadvantage. In Queensland, Stronger Places, Stronger People is jointly funded by the Australian Government, Department of Social Services, and the Queensland Government, Department of Communities, Disability Services and Seniors. There are 3 Stronger Places, Stronger People communities in Queensland, Gladstone being one, and our neighbours in Rockhampton. And then in the southeast, Logan have an initiative called Logan Together. And Gladstone's initial introduction to Stronger Places, Stronger People was in 2019 through stakeholder meetings with Department of Social Services and their consultants. In terms of who was chosen to be Stronger Places, Stronger People communities, there were a number of eligibility criteria. 2 of those were entrenched disadvantage and a promising degree of community readiness. So in terms of entrenched disadvantage, Gladstone traditionally hasn't really been recognised as being a community of significant disadvantage, and that's comparatively with some of our other communities regionally in Australia. But that's not to say that we haven't had a significant level of disadvantage in our community over many decades. And certainly in the last decade, particularly the last 5 to 6 years, what we've seen is that we've had a big growth in the elements of disadvantage in our community, in those markers of entrenched disadvantage. And that's raised our profile as a community for disadvantage. The second criteria, the degree of community readiness, that is a requirement to be a Stronger Places, Stronger People community. Over the years, what we've seen in Gladstone is that our community has come together, and with the support of key government and corporate stakeholders, we've seen our community collectively capture their aspirations as a community for the future. And in 2015, we saw the Gladstone Region Vision 2035 established. And then in 2019, QCOS ran a forum here that saw a collection of sector and community members come together to identify key focal areas going forward over the next few years. So our community is no stranger to coming together and mobilising around urgent issues. Particularly over the last few decades, we've seen significant work of collectives emerging for domestic and family violence, mental health, and obviously through council for co-location of service delivery with the Phillip Street Precinct. So if we just have a quick look at what we mean by growing disadvantage, this is just a few of the indicators that have been identified as significant for Gladstone. So over the last 5 years or so, we've seen a significant increase in individuals on government payments in our region. Significantly, there's a number of families with children who are either on welfare, a growing number, or on low incomes. And we are seeing a shift, a decrease in the readiness of children for school in our region too. So that plays out in the AEDC data around what we call the vulnerability of children starting school. So we're seeing an increase in the vulnerability of children starting school. And then, very sadly, what we're also seeing is an increase in the children in our area that are subject to protective orders growing for Gladstone. And this growth is above our population growth rates, but it's also above Queensland averages. So we know that we can do better. And this is despite the hard work of our social sector. We're seeing a continuing demand on our social sector who are struggling to recruit and to attract and retain skills for specialist positions. But the demand keeps growing, and unfortunately that's not playing out to the outcomes. We're not seeing an improvement in outcomes, we're actually seeing a decrease, seeing the outcomes worsen for our region. So there is a growing recognition and a real willingness that we're starting to feel in our community that we need to do things differently if we want to see change. And that's where Stronger Places, Stronger People come in with the support of our 3 levels of government. Stronger Places, Stronger People is a place-based, community-led change initiative based on a collective impact model. And the collective impact model was created by John Canier and Mark Kramer in 2011. They basically identified 5 key indicators or elements that contribute to successful community-led initiatives. The first being a shared agenda. Now, as we say, we know that we've got the Gladstone community has come together to record their aspirations, so we have part of that in place already. The second is a mutually reinforcing activity plan, so an action plan that is shared by all the different stakeholders who are focused on their specific issues. The third is communication, and with communication we're really talking about relationship and trust between stakeholders. So communication often helps to maintain that trust by having that regular contact between stakeholders. And importantly for Gladstone, the fourth element is a backbone. So what we mean by that is the resources to enable the momentum to continue. So we have seen a few false starts in our region where we've come together as a community, plotted out what we thought needed to occur to see some really good improvement in community wellbeing, and then everybody's gone back to their day jobs and the momentum's just kind of lost its way a little bit. So Stronger Places, Stronger People is about providing that backbone to continue the work. And the fifth element is measurement. So while we know that a lot of our service delivery and a lot of our collective initiatives have their own measurement for their specific topic, what we're talking about is a measurement, or if you like, almost a report card for our social wellbeing for Gladstone as a community across every element. So a key part of that is about systems change. And what we mean by systems change is that where we're working harder and faster all the time and we're not seeing the outcomes that we want to see delivered, it's about really taking everything apart and starting again and reconstructing and finding out what is holding the conditions of disadvantage in place and how do we start to unpack those and do things differently. So that really requires a big picture view of what's working and what isn't, so we can focus our energy in the right places. It's about addressing those really complex issues, and that requires all of the stakeholders to be at the table, and that's why we're so grateful that we do have the 3 levels of government supporting this work. It requires all the voices. That includes the voices of our community and including those hard to reach voices, so maybe those community members that are actually experiencing disadvantage. And it focuses on those real causal factors for prevention and early intervention. So just to clarify, Stronger Places, Stronger People won't be providing service delivery. It will be supporting and making sure that we're not duplicating any of our existing services, and it'll be enhancing and enabling some of those services to really create the great outcomes that they're aspiring to, and to where we need to scale up those programs and initiatives that are actually having great outcomes but maybe don't have the resources attached to them at the moment. But mostly it's going to require some really creative thinking for systems change. It's going to require all of us to break free of what we have known, how we know we've done business in the past, and look to really have that anything is possible mindset in the way that we go forward from here. So our approach needs to be a little bit different. We need to be very creative, and we need to all work together and think differently. So what does this actually mean for Gladstone on the ground? What will you actually see? What you'll see is a dedicated team and resources committed to this work to drive the momentum going forward, hopefully over the next 3+ years. There'll be a central mechanism to help unpack and examining what is happening for our community. It'll be an easier way for all of our stakeholders who, as we know, are so busy and so overwhelmed responding to that growing demand. It'll be a way for them to come together and work together where we can actually resource that work for them. And it'll create equity amongst stakeholders. So again, by having 3 levels of government, all of our service sector and the community voice at the table, we can actually unpack the model, the structure of the way that things have been done in the past, and collectively create change. And it'll provide that ongoing measurement to check that we are going in the right direction. So when we know that we're not going in the right direction, we'll be able to adjust our course as we go. It'll also, really importantly, have real-time data. So we'll be managing a data system that will escape the bounds of what we've seen previously with our census data, where we know, for example, that in Gladstone, our trends and changes in our dynamic and our demographic occur much quicker than a 5-year period. They occur in between those times. So we'll be looking at real-time data that is specific to the Gladstone region and distinct to our communities. So looking right down to that suburb level, identifying how many children or how many families are impacted by certain circumstances, and looking at not only what happened last census, but what happened last month in our communities. And we'll have an ongoing opportunity for communities to tell us what they're experiencing, so making sure all the time that we're validating the data. The other thing that Stronger Places, Stronger People offers is a wider network to connect to other communities that are maybe further advanced in this work than us, and can offer us their learnings and some of their tools and resources so that we're not reinventing the wheel all the time. So the challenge when you're looking at something as big as disrupting the cycle of disadvantage obviously is where to start. Other SPSP communities, knowing that the first 1,000 days in a child's life are critical to the trajectory that they have in opportunities in life, have focused on the pre-birth to school age period. And we suspect that's probably where most of our focus will be in the Gladstone region as well. So to understand what's happening for our children, we also have to consider the well-being of their parents and of the families. And unfortunately, through research, statistical evidence, and conversations with our practitioners locally, we do know that there's still a prevalence of issues impacting our families, including alcohol and other drugs, domestic and family violence, mental health, and poverty. So the data will drive the efforts and where the energy is placed. But when we talk about data, just to give you some reassurances, we're talking about both quantitative and qualitative data. So we're not just talking about statistics, we're talking about community stories and lived experience to actually validate and back up what people are experiencing on the ground. And really critical, I think, for our region is that we're going to be trying to quantify some of the variables, which is something that we've struggled to do in the past, to really get down to the percentages and numbers of, for example, migration, movement of people in and out of our region in a real-time manner. If we don't understand that movement in and out, it's going to be very difficult or challenging to effectively measure our progress, because the variable will always change those outcomes, or to identify the effective supports that those community members need to really target what they're going through, and how the time frame that it might be relevant to them in. So with all that said, I know that we have focused quite a lot on the deficits. We've spoken to you today about some of the areas of growth of disadvantage, but we wanted to reassure you that the intent of Stronger Places, Stronger People going forward is going to be to create hope and encouragement that we can do better as a community and that we can create change together. So for this reason, most of our public communications going out from the time that we have evaluated all that data will be strengths-based. And there's this perfect little example here from Logan Together, this beautiful smiley face that just holds the hope of the future in the grin, the little cheeky grin there. And Logan Together have got a statement there that 70% of Logan children are arriving at school ready to reach their potential. Now, like Logan, 70% for us in Gladstone wouldn't be enough. We would want a higher number than that. So Logan have this beautiful statement at the bottom that says we've got a plan to do even better. And that's really at the heart of Stronger Places, Stronger People. It's about how can we as a community do better. So to give you an idea of our current status, we've had an incredibly hard-working working group who have volunteered time over the last 15 months to get us to this stage. So I'd like to express our thanks to the working group. They have managed to secure the funding for Gladstone and to secure the roles that Deb and I are holding currently. We've been collecting data specific to our region and with the support of government data that isn't publicly available online as well, so that we can review and identify the current crisis points and, as I say, validated that through sector and community conversation. We've been reviewing those previous community consultations and aspirations to make sure that they're still relevant today. We've put an expression of interest out for a leadership group, and we've been very successful in having some very skilled and diverse community members put their hands up to come forward to be involved in that group. So we've just recently appointed our leadership group who will carry the work forward. We've been having discussions with a potential auspice so that we can bring the funding home to Gladstone. So currently it's being hosted outside the region. The work of the working group has allowed us now to have conversations with an auspice so that those funds will be received and managed locally in Gladstone. And we've been having workshops and consultations with government sector and community representatives. And we've been working very closely with the Gladstone Regional Council Community Engagement Team. So our thanks to Council for the support that we've been receiving there. We're looking at where we might be able to align and optimise opportunities with the work of Stronger Places, Stronger People and the Phillip Street Precinct and some of the activity that will come out of that work. So in terms of next steps, in Gladstone, our next step is to go out and have much wider community conversations, and whether that be in playgroups or parks or wherever we need to go to meet with community members where they feel comfortable. We're going to, where we can, align those consultations with other service providers so that our community isn't overwhelmed with an army of people coming out to have conversation with them and reduce consultation fatigue. We'll be analysing the data and seeking expert analysis as well to quantify the variables and provide a baseline for measurement going forward. And we'll be establishing working groups to focus on specific issues. So by the end of April to June this year, the Stronger Places, Stronger People Gladstone Leadership Group, on behalf of the Gladstone community, will present a proposal to government for the next 3 years for funding. The proposal will cover the two eligibility factors I've spoken about today, so the markers of entrenched disadvantage and community readiness. So that will entail a data report to detail our most critical focus areas and current performance against recognised social wellbeing indicators. And it will record the story of Gladstone's journey to date to this point in time, demonstrating our readiness to engage as one collective. And that concludes our very brief overview of Stronger Places, Stronger People Gladstone and the next steps in our journey. We will continue to send you email updates, and it's certainly been a pleasure to have the opportunity to be here in person today to share this with you, and would love to have the opportunity to come back again in person to share updates. We don't have any requests for council at this point in time. We're already receiving great support in the way that your teams are working with us. But we would like to leave here today with some feeling of endorsement from council that you're happy with the way that the Stronger Places, Stronger People work is progressing for our community. And from that perspective, we certainly seek your feedback and any questions you may have. And we would like to leave you today with a very warm welcome and open invitation that if there's any part of the work to be extended, the invitation will be there on an ongoing basis. So thank you so much for your time and listening so attentively to the work that Debbie and I have been so connected to. It will be our pleasure now to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Lorna. Thanks, Debbie. I know there's some questions that Councillor Goodluck has one here. I just want to say first up, for your community consultation, I just talked about Parks Week. So there's plenty of people going to be out and about in parks in the next few days. So certainly a good opportunity to meet with some of them there. I'm really looking forward to the local community organisation that will be auspicing the program when that happens. I heard you mention that. I've got Councillor Churchill as well. I'll go to Councillor Goodluck first. So lots of questions. I can tell you're very passionate about it, and personally, I think what you're doing is fantastic, and keep it up. Thank you. Over to you, Khan.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Lorna and Debbie. That was a great report. It's interesting to see, particularly, the areas of growing disadvantage in our region, which is probably no surprise to a lot of people who live here and experience it, obviously. But it is good that we've sort of acknowledged that in some respects. So hopefully we'll be able to gain traction with that as we move forward. I am interested in one particular part. When we look at access to GPs in our region, we have a problem there. And when we talk about, it's noted in the report, some of those areas of growing disadvantage, domestic and family violence, mental health issues, due to a lack of access to GPs. We actually have a problem where we have a lot of people that can't get access to, being prescribed mental health plans and having that appropriate care to enable people to be able to, deal with these issues and hopefully improve. So I'm just wondering, one of the ways we've discussed it at this council and advocated to our federal government around the distribution priority area, which we've been excluded from, interestingly enough, because the Department of Health sees us as a highly advantaged community with a high social demographic, because we have high wages, also noted in the report. So, there's one change, being able to get placed back on the priority distribution area for GPs would be a way that we can help improve access to GPs, which will, in effect, in the long term, help those other issues like mental health and domestic and family violence. So I'm just wondering, is that sort of the broad spectrum of work? Will that particular piece of work come into the body of work that you guys are doing, or is...
Thanks, Councillor Goodluck. Yes, certainly. We're looking at every aspect of wellbeing for our communities. That includes health as well. We are aware that there is a significant amount of work that's already has been done and being done in that area to lobby for Gladstone. So again, we won't be duplicating. We will be supporting and enabling wherever we can. And we have been having conversations, for example, with PHN and representatives from our GP network. And we'll continue those conversations to make sure that the priorities for Gladstone overall get the attention. So we're very excited as well to see Mindcare come on the scene in Gladstone. We know that Mindcare has got this as part of its real focal centre point for action, trying to assist people get into the supports they need at the time they need to reduce that escalation. So we'll certainly be working closely with Mindcare. And as I say, there's really not an element of community wellbeing that won't be a part of this work. We will be focusing the energy on where the statistics are pointing to be the highest need. But like you say, the issues are so complex that they all overlap and interplay together. So that'll be the challenge of the work, is unweaving. And we've got some great people in our sector at the moment that have a lot of experience in understanding those issues. So we'll be calling on that local expertise as well.
So we have Councillor Churchill on Teams on the screen up there. So Councillor Churchill had a question. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Matt. I've actually got two questions, but more So probably just trying to get a clarification. Lorna and Debbie, thank you, and thank you to your working group for the endeavours and the initiative and your commitment. But the one thing from your presentation that jumps out at me at this particular stage is the issue of Gladstone. I suppose from my role and many others' roles with youth crime and the PCYC is trying to also understand the movement of our families, movement of our young people. And you mentioned that there before. So that needs to be applauded, that you're actually going to get the data that is more relevant or more recent, rather than organisations in our community continually relying on ABS, which outdates quite rapidly. And Gladstone, as you've indicated, Lorna, is certainly, it changes rapidly. But from a footprint of your delivery of services, is that you've mentioned in your report there Gladstone LGA, which is the local government area, Rosedale to Raglan, and ranges to the Reef, as we regularly say around the table, which is our entire footprint. But so often in your report, you're mentioning clearly Gladstone-centric in this approach. So maybe if you could just give us an indication of what your footprint or what your planned footprint of services may be, or maybe you've got a rollout plan that might cover the whole region. That's my first one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, certainly Gladstone, the SPSP, as we call it, Stronger Places, Stronger People initiative in Gladstone, will be across the whole Gladstone region. So thank you for seeking that clarification. We will be inviting community members from across the region and we are to be involved in the work. And we are certainly interested in the breakdown of data that we've now got access to as well for each of our distinct communities across the region. So what we know from living and working in Gladstone region is that our communities across the region really have their own characteristics, and that also plays out in the demographic that we see in each of our communities and in the needs of each of our communities. So we will be addressing those needs as a community-based piece versus the whole region, but the footprint for the project itself is the entire Gladstone region. Does that answer that?
Yeah, thank you. I'm sure just to know that it is the entire Gladstone region, because there is a need. We are well aware of some of the needs in the outer areas, not just Gladstone City. So thank you for that. The other question is that you've mentioned the Logan City model, and I'm just wanting to understand, because I do know that particular part of the world from the past in understanding the culture. So is there synergies with the Logan model, or is your soon-to-be announced committee or working group going forward, are you going to create your own Gladstone region model?
Thanks, Councillor Churchill. Definitely creating our own Gladstone model. We'll be tailoring anything that we do in the Gladstone region for our needs here. Certainly we'll be looking to other communities for their lessons and learnings. And one of the things we do know, for example, is that when we look at the migration data, Logan is one area that we have had community members leave and relocate to Gladstone during the times that we saw that big wave of migration come in. And that's going to be a really interesting question for us as we go forward, is around at which point do people become our community? And what is our responsibility when people leave our community? Because, you know, we know, for example, that some people arrive in our community in need of support, and then at some point in time they might leave our community and go to another community and may still have need for support. So that'll be a really interesting question for us as a community about what our role and responsibilities are in that situation. In terms of how we will structure our work and our model, we'll be looking to community input for that. We'll be designing based on the needs here in Gladstone. So definitely very specifically Gladstone orientated, Gladstone region orientated. Thank you, Councillor Churchill.
No, thank you for that, Lorna, because my final comment, I suppose, is that, and I'm impressed with your answer, is that it's not always about dollars. And I understand that you require the dollars and the funding to deliver a program, but it's the community care, it's the community compassion, but it's the community having skin in the game with a commitment to endeavour to make the changes that are needed. Anyway, thank you. Best wishes.
Thank you. Councillor Branthwaite, question?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Matt. Thanks very much, Lorna and Deb. That was a really good presentation. There's probably, obviously, with Councillor Church and myself in the previous life, being involved with Communities for Children, their funding is, it probably has an end date, but in the same token, our need for their services and their liaison with making sure that programs actually happen really is actually expanding. So what you're researching is digging down deep and finding out exactly what they do, and other support groups as well. In what way do you actually work with the likes of Wendy and her team?
Thank you, Councillor. Wendy has been a very significant contributor to this work, to the state. As I say, you know, the focus in Gladstone is likely to be our children, our youth, right down to that, you know, pre-birth to school age in our children locally. So Wendy's work and the work of Communities for Children here in Gladstone is really close to some of those issues impacting those children. And some of the program delivery that is happening through that group and through some of our other local organisations really gets to the heart of some of the struggles that our families have in order to create opportunity for our children. So I guess the key thing about Stronger Places, Stronger People is that it's bigger than those people that are employed in it. It's really about all of our stakeholders locally coming together to identify the needs. The type of practical support that we hope to be able to provide to organisations like Communities for Children and other organisations that are delivering services for our families here is firstly the data. So we know that one of the struggles is really visibly demonstrating the needs of our community. So if we can focus on that and really provide that resource to our organisations to have that very current, very true to life visibility of what's happening, we think that would be a great benefit to them, and that's certainly the feedback that we're getting back from the sector. The other part is around, as a community, it's coming together and understanding where we're really making the positive outputs, where we're really having a positive outcome for our community. Again, removing all the variables and really tracking progress. So the voice of Communities for Children and other organisations that are there on the ground, helping and supporting these families is going to be critical to the outcomes of this work.
So is there with the continuity of those programs, do you participate in the funding applications for that continuity, or do you do lobbying on their behalf, or what role do you play with that in the future?
A lot of that will depend on the community members that are involved in the program. So that will really be, so the leadership group, for example, is our strategic group for the work. We'll have a number of working groups who will focus on specific issues, and it'll be their role to identify what we need to do. So if, for example, there's an identification that a funding source, the time frame isn't appropriate, certainly that's something that we could, might come up through that work. The challenge for government always, of course, is going to be how long is funding appropriate for when you're still trying to make sure that you're responding to current needs when communities change so much. So we're not expecting to be able to change everything, but at the same time, it's about really trying to get some strong practical outcomes that meet all of our stakeholder needs and have that really strong practical approach to what is feasible and what's not.
Are some of those people that are on your community engagement panel on the C4C panel as well?
Certainly in the working group, as I say, Wendy's been a really great contributor to the working group to the state. Some of our community members aren't on our not all of our sector is represented on our leadership group, but that's where the working groups come in, because the working groups will bring together the expertise that is required on specific topics. And that's so that they can delve deep into each of those issues. Does that answer that question for you, Councillor?
Yeah, it does. I was just trying to see whether that your group was drawing off the strengths and rather than the cross-pollination or trying to duplicate services or something like that, rather than try and draw off experiences and add to the richness of your group, so to speak. So, yeah.
It's just, I think what the SPSP project is doing is looking at the collective impact model. So it's not really a new group it's not a new group. I guess it's a different way of doing things. So people with lots of different experiences and skills sort of come together, and then including people from, for example, the Communities for Children group or other organisations, and they will sort of come in and out and inform some of that. It's not a different group, and at the same time, there is sort of that need to do things a bit differently. So, and it's not saying that people in the past haven't done it right, but the more we do things our way, it becomes a little bit harder to see how else to do things, how we can actually solve some of these issues that they're not actually going to be solved straight away, but they're generational things. They're cycles of disadvantage. So they're not going to be, I guess, well, that's one of my worries anyway. We talk about a 3-year plan, but it's not in 3 years, we're probably not even going to see anything. When we're talking about cycles of disadvantage, we're looking at least 10 or 20 years to see something. But I guess it's just the beginning of a different way of doing things. That's why it's also a bit hard to explain as to how it works. So it's and I guess I commend you for trying to explain it, and I guess you can just go on and on and on for hours trying to explain how it's going to work. What is a backbone organisation? What is a leadership group? What's a working group? And what's the difference in between each of them?
I was only just trying to get a mix of the ideas. Yeah. That's all I was trying to achieve, Councillor. So
yeah, no, but I think it's definitely what you're saying. Those people, the aim was to include as many people as possible from all the different groups that are there. So it's not really a new group, in a way. It's just everybody trying to do something a little bit differently, and coming in and out of the group or of the different topics or issues that the group is supposed to be looking into in the future.
Well, I don't think anybody else has done anything like this before as a collective, and that in that light, it's really good. And all I was doing was just asking the question of who was on what panel, so we're not trying to duplicate things. That's all.
I agree. I had the same concern, so. I still do, in a way. So,
Councillor Goodluck has another question.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And I'm just curious. So I'm just wondering about this next part, because I really like the next steps slide, and we're going to present a proposal to government end of April. So that's fast approaching, and we're going to outline current performance against recognised social wellbeing indicators. So that's really good. When we looked at the slide, for example, of the cute little fella down at Logan, and 70% of students or children, turn up ready to achieve their full potential. I'm not familiar with Logan's sort of story and where they've come from to get there, and I'm sure that's a fantastic story. But I also look at it in the broader context and think 70%. It's the year 2021, and it's probably a pretty poor reflection of society and our country as a whole. If that's sort of where we're sitting at, we'd all love to see it, closer to 100%. And I'm conscious of the fact, even if we look at early child education, you mentioned the first 1,000 days of a child's life is the most critical time, and it really shapes their long-term, potential and outcomes. And when I look at, for example, kindergarten, I sit on the Boyne Island School Council, and there's data and statistics that suggest that students that turn up to prep that haven't had that year of early childhood education in kindergarten can actually take up to 3 or 4 years before they will catch up to a student that has. So you're talking really, really major impacts. And I know for a fact, even from my own, it was a couple of years ago now, my child went into kindergarten. It was in excess of $200 a fortnight to put them into kindergarten. And even for me, that was a lot of money for our family, but I'm conscious, I have friends and family out there that can't afford that. So we're looking at these sorts of outcomes. So sorry to talk on there, but my question was, will this data and the proposal that the SPS, and I'm only asking because I'm not 100% sure, but will it be focusing on sort of those big overarching issues around, affordability, early access to childcare, access to health like we talked about before, or will it be more focused at a really, really local level, sort of drilling down to more things that we can do, and I'm not sort of sure what they might be, but where in that space is the SPS going to be focused on?
Thanks, Councillor. Good luck. That's the perfect question, and that's, I think, where it is so hard to get your heads around stronger places, stronger people for all of us, because it really is, the world is our oyster. It really is about, let's not confine ourselves to what level we're thinking at. So even though the focus here is on Gladstone region, Gladstone LGA, if there are things that are outside of what we might consider outside of our control, because they are held by power in other areas, it's how it's always done. It's done across Australia like that. It's done globally like that. The whole idea of this initiative is to grab that by the horns and shake things up and go, well, why? Why does it have to be that way? What can we do differently now that will actually create different outcomes for our community in the future? So in terms of your question, and really key around the cost of childcare, the availability of childcare currently in our community, it is potentially an inhibitor to families being able to give their children the best opportunities before they start school. So what can we as a community do to address that issue? And it doesn't just end with conversations within Gladstone region. It means that we have to go wider and bigger. And that's where I really commend our federal and state government and local government, because everybody is coming at this work from a very open mind to say, we know we need to do better. We know that in this year it's not good enough that we still have children falling behind. We've been talking about this for decades, so what do we as a group have to do to achieve change? And it will take everyone. We all have to let go of any ideas that we had that somebody else has control of this. We all do. So it's going to be a real mind shift. And I hope that you will come with us on the journey, because it's a big journey that we're about to take on.
Do you have a question from Councillor Trevor, and then anyone else interested in a question?
Thanks, Lorna. Thanks, Debbie. And I'm eternally grateful for both yourselves and your volunteers focusing on a key issue that impacts on our local community. Having been a local for over 50 years in the Gladstone community myself, we've had some difficult times over the years with our boom and busts when it comes to social disadvantage. So often we focus on the important things that we see as being important, but they're not really important. What's really important is making sure that our disadvantaged people are caught in a safety net and that they're not forced to leave our community when we're booming, and they're not forced to suffer social disadvantage when we're not. And I think the three key areas for me as a local, from an identification point of view as part of your investigative process, is to focus on what happens to social disadvantage during boom times in Gladstone, what happens to social disadvantage in bust times, and what happens to social disadvantage in what can otherwise be described as normal times, if there is such a creature in Gladstone. Because historically, ever since I was a young boy driving around the dusty streets of Gladstone on my Melbourne Star bike, and seeing not the closure of the Gladstone Meatworks, but certainly QAL first coming to town at Parsons Point. We have had a history of boom and bust, and we'll continue to do that because we have one of the best ports in the world. We proudly boast that we are the industrial capital of Australia and the port city to the world. What we don't boast about is the social disadvantage that is occurring in our community when we have these booms, when we have these busts, and that when we return to normality. So for me, what I'd like to be able to present to the higher levels of government, both state and federal, when the next boom comes to town, is something that will enable us to lobby very strongly for funding to ensure that there is not significant social disadvantage as we've seen during the LNG boom and the booms prior to that. During the construction phase and after the construction phase when it's moved to production, because we all know that there was significant disadvantage during the boom. We all know that there is currently significant disadvantage post the boom. And we all know that there will be continuing social disadvantage during normal times and prior to the next big thing, whether that be hydrogen or whether it be whatever. There are plenty of things on the drawing board that ultimately may lead to the next boom in this community, and we're going to be, as leaders, or leaders at the time, faced with the ugly prospect of having to deal with social disadvantage. And I'm sincerely hopeful that your hard work and effort brings about some consistency in approach from our state and federal governments when it comes to making sure that we, as a community, when it comes to social disadvantage, are protected, that our most vulnerable in our society are protected and not forced to leave this community, some of whom are elderly, some of whom are young, but because of the drivers associated with significant development, they have to leave the place in which they often were brought up, often loved dearly, but have no choice other than because of financial disadvantage to leave. We've all seen it, let's be honest here. Let's not hide under the doona when it comes to what's happened in our community over the last 10 years. To a large extent, in my opinion, it has been utterly disgraceful. The way in which we have treated some of our people during the last boom. I am traumatised by what I continue to see in this community when it comes to a bust after a boom. And sadly, because we are gifted with one of the best ports in the world, this will continue to happen unless we are ready, armed, willing and able to fight relentlessly with the state and federal government to ensure that what we've seen in the last 10 years never, ever happens to this community again. And I dearly hope that this work that you're doing will represent a clear way forward to ensure that the state and federal governments lift us up, not let us down, when it comes to booms and busts in this community.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. I'm going to respectfully offer an alternate way of looking at that. Our state and federal government have come together as partners on this initiative, and I think provide us a great opportunity that the future doesn't have to look like a fight, and that it can look like real partnership, real true partnership. And the only way that we can make sure that we uphold our end of that bargain is to hold them to account on that, and to really step up ourselves and to be partners side by side, shoulder to shoulder, with our community and with our government partners at all levels. And that's why I'm so excited, having seen some of those historical fights and seeing how our community didn't always come out on the win end of it. I'm really excited to see the opportunity that together, and I know we can do it, that we as a community can bring and the role modelling that we can demonstrate to our community about how we can partner at all levels to make this happen. Thank you.
Councillor Muscat has a question.
I just want to, it's not necessarily a question, but I just wanted to talk just for a second about the difference between receiving funding and implementing services and delivering services. I don't think we have a problem where there's not enough funding. I think, and I guess it's also what the SPSP new way of looking at things is trying to do. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do with the money that we have. Sometimes we don't use those resources in the way we use them well, but we use them maybe sometimes not in the right proportion when it comes to addressing issues and preventing issues. So when it comes to, again, entrenched disadvantage and cycles of disadvantage, they don't just happen because boom and busts in the economy. They happen because there's a number of issues within family units, cultures, areas, and it goes far beyond a QAL being built in a community. So to me, it's clear that funding and results are not linked. So funding needs to be used, or resources need to be used where we're going to get the most impact out of how we work with that money and those people and those resources. So if we keep doing the same thing over and over, all we're going to need is just more money to continue to do the same thing. So for years and years, we've been using money and getting the same results, which we see they're not improving. So something's got to be done. So we have to see it from the how we're using these resources, and what is that. Why are we continuing to doing the same thing over and over? So I think the whole concept is great. Now it's going to be up to us as a community to see whether we actually can pull it off or we can actually do something about it. So the concept, collective impact, is wonderful. And again, it's going to come down to us to see if we understand it and see if we can actually get some kind of benefit out of it, or it will just be another thing we tried, which I hope it's not the case. But so we'll stay and watch.
Councillor Branthwaite has a question.
Thanks, Mayor Matt. Yeah, look, I see the benefits of having all this. Now, obviously, you were saying in Queensland there are 3. So Rocky being one, yourselves, and where was the other one? Where? Logan. So is there a collaboration, obviously, between those 3 parcels, and are you obviously talking with them? Because no doubt there'll be some issues that are the same, you know. It's like in any community, we have a fair share of issues, so there must be ways through those as well.
Thanks, Councillor Branthwaite. Yes, certainly. Going back to Councillor Churchill's question, you know, although we want to be very Gladstone region specific in terms of, designing something that's going to meet the needs of our community, we recognise that there are some communities that have progressed some issues that we're also going to be dealing with, that we'll be looking to for their learnings and their knowledge. And certainly if we can optimise any of our work, wherever we can, work smarter, then that's what we'll be doing. So we are talking to Logan and to Rockhampton at the moment to look at, can we, for example, share one resource for data collection, so that we're kind of, really delivering value for the dollar to our community out of the funding that we're getting for this initiative. And the fact that we can reach a much broader audience to seek those lessons and the knowledge of experience from through SPSP is a great way for us as a community to minimise the amount of research work that we do. If others have already done it, we'll lean on that experience. Thank you.
Very good. Wish you all the best with it. I think it's a great little project for everybody.
Any further questions, councillors? No? Thank you, Lorna. Thank you, Debbie. That was awesome. I think we have a better understanding about what it's all about now. And I'd like to just comment by saying I think we are definitely, this is another example of how we're doing things differently. I think we as a local government particularly have learnt from the past. That's why we've led the charge on building communities and family precinct in Phillip Street. It will be the example for others to follow on how to deliver social services and community services to a community like Gladstone, and it'll be replicated, I have no doubt, across the country. Keep up the good work, you're doing a fantastic job, and thank you for attending the deputation.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for your time and your inputs. Much appreciated.
We have a resolution there, councillors, that the deputation from Stronger People, Stronger Places be received. Move Councillor Goodluck, second Councillor O'Grady. All in favour? The motion's carried. Thank you. We'll move on with the next items on the agenda. I know there's not many. Yes, yep, I see that. There's the urgent businesses have been done, notice of motions have been done, and there's no confidential items, so I will declare the meeting closed at 10:53 a.m. Thank you. And next up, sorry, Josh, before you declare it closed, I just want to thank Councillor Goodluck for his efficient chairing of the meeting, or either that or the very short agenda it was today. The next council meeting will be the 16th of March. Thank you. Declare the meeting closed.
There's been a record.
Celebrate Easter in Gladstone, the gateway to the southern Great Barrier Reef. The marina comes alive with harbourside celebrations all Easter long weekend. Enjoy the Harbour Festival's carnival rides and family-friendly entertainment, and visit new attraction Sculptures by Gladstone Harbour. Over 18s can celebrate the end of the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race at the village's line crossing party, or enjoy fresh produce at the Yachtsman's long lunch or the Seafood Festival. Accommodation packages available. Easter in Gladstone. Why would you be anywhere else?
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Well, today we announced the beneficiaries for the 2021 Santos GLNG Mayor's Charity Ball, and I'm very pleased to announce that the charities this year are Nullandu Health Services, Rosebery Community Services, Mindcare Gladstone, and of course our good friends at Zonta are back on again as beneficiaries. We've raised almost $400,000 over the years for the local charities in the community, and we're going to do our absolute best to raise as much as we can again this year. And thanks to our sponsors and of course those who turn up and buy the tickets, the money will be distributed right across the Gladstone region. Well, the ball this year, the theme is Starry Night, and it's on the 29th of May, and tickets are on sale on the 1st of March, so we're encouraging everyone to jump on Council's website or contact the team at the GECC. It's 49722822 822, and make sure you don't miss out. It's always a fantastic night, obviously. 450 tickets on sale, they will sell out, and we've got the fantastic Hamilton Band coming back from Brisbane. They were here for our New Year's Eve event a couple of years ago, so people will remember them from that. It's going to be fantastic. Don't miss out on getting your tickets for this event.
Celebrate Easter in Gladstone, the gateway to the southern Great Barrier Reef. The marina comes alive with harbourside celebrations all Easter long weekend. Enjoy the Harbour Festival's carnival rides and family-friendly entertainment, and visit new attraction Sculptures by Gladstone Harbour. Over 18s can celebrate the end of the Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race at the village's line crossing party, or enjoy fresh produce at the Yachtsman's Long Lunch or the Seafood Festival. Accommodation packages available. Easter in Gladstone. Why would you be anywhere else?
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Well, today we announced the beneficiaries for the 2021 Santos GLNG Mayor's Charity Ball, and I'm very pleased to announce that the charities this year are Nullandu Health Services, Rosebery Community Services, Mindcare Gladstone, and of course our good friends at Zonta are back on again as beneficiaries. We've raised almost $400,000 over the years for the local charities in the community, and we're going to do our absolute best to raise as much as we can again this year. And thanks to our sponsors and of course those who turn up and buy the tickets, the money will be distributed right across the Gladstone region. Well, the ball this year, the theme is Starry Night, and it's on the 29th of May, and tickets are on sale on the 1st of March, so we're encouraging everyone to jump on Council's website or contact the team at the GECC. It's 4972 822 and make sure you don't miss out. It's always a fantastic night, obviously. 450 tickets on sale, they will sell out, and we've got the fantastic Hamilton Band coming back from Brisbane. They were here for our New Year's Eve event a couple of years ago, so people will remember them from that. It's going to be fantastic. Don't miss out on getting your tickets for this event.